If you say to a stewardess that you are carrying a bomb.
Okay, so in today's video, I'm going to talk about the C2 Proficiency speaking exam, specifically part 3 of the speaking exam. Part 3 is known as the long turn, and it's the part that makes candidates most nervous, I think. And that's understandable, I think, because you have to talk on your own for 2 minutes about a random topic that the examiner has just shown you 10 seconds beforehand. But I think another problem is that the speaking exam, or just speaking in general, is an area that students and teachers tend to ignore a little bit. Maybe it's because with grammar and vocabulary, we can see a quantitative improvement. We know when we know more words. We can see when we are able to use more grammatical structures. Writing can be a bit difficult, but we know when there is a mistake and we can understand why there is a mistake. We can be taught how to write an introduction, a main body, and a conclusion. The reading activities, either you're getting more of them right or you're not. The same with the use of English. With speaking, it seems a little bit more complicated, a little bit more subjective maybe. And as I say, I don't think this is just a problem with students or even just students and teachers of English, right? It seems to be a more general problem in society, right? Writing is very complicated. But I think writing and speaking are linked through thought. If you can learn to write well, you can learn to think well, and then if you can write and think effectively, you can speak effectively and more confidently. Here's an interesting thing to think about. Part 1 of the C2 Proficiency writing paper is an essay where you have to discuss a potentially controversial topic, right? And it's 240 to 280 words. How long do you think it would take you to read that out loud? About 2 minutes. What do you have to do in part 3 of the speaking exam? You have to talk about a potentially controversial topic for about 2 minutes. What is being tested in this part of the speaking exam is your ability to organize your thoughts, to justify your opinions, and to arrive at some kind of conclusion in a very concise way in 2 minutes. And interestingly enough, the things that people get wrong on this part of the speaking exam are very similar to the things that people get wrong in the writing exam. The biggest and most common error for me is that people, both on the speaking and the writing exam, don't answer the question. In today's video, we are going to look at a few examples of this part of the speaking exam, and you will notice that a question is asked, right? So it doesn't just say talk about unhealthy habits, talk about government policy on the environment. No, it asks you a specific question and it gives you 3 ideas for things that you can mention within your discourse, within your speech, but basically you're answering the question. That's what you should be focusing on, and it's a real problem that people start rambling about a topic but they're not actually answering the question that has been asked of them, and it's a really big problem. The next big problem is repetition, and I see this all the time, and it could be 2 kinds of repetition. It could be repeating ideas but just in a paraphrased way, which is really annoying because it just sounds like you're filling my head full of nonsense, vacuous ideas. And just repeating vocabulary, which is a really basic thing that you've got to try and avoid, and it's quite difficult when we're speaking. So like I say, practice makes perfect there. Another thing that is really annoying for the examiner is saying all the time. This is why it's important to practice, and you can practice with me if you click the blue button under this video. Anyway, apart from that, we've got to learn to use fillers. So when we're thinking, we need to tell the examiner, tell the people who are listening that we are thinking. Oh, that's an interesting question. Let me think. The way I would approach this topic is, I said it's difficult. That's a really interesting question. For me, it really depends on the context. That's actually a field I have quite a bit of insight into. Well, I don't know how valid my opinion is on this subject, as I am a layman, but I'll give it a go. All of those things are better than okay? Now, another thing that you're going to want to avoid is talking in a monotone. When people are suffering from anxiety and nerves and stress, it's very common for them to sound monotonous. Once again, however, I think that is something you can definitely work on. If you practice, even on your own at home, just speaking in a more animated way, I think what you'll find is the words just fall out of you a lot more easily than if you're speaking like this because you're worrying and then you start to hear your own voice and you start boring yourself. And if you're sort of speaking like this and you're animated and you're making eye contact, which I find very difficult a lot of the time, if you're doing all of those things, the ideas seem to flow a lot more naturally. Your enthusiasm goes up and you start to feel what you're saying, and the examiner will feel that energy as well. This is starting to sound like a self-help video. It's not. That's not what I do. Now, as to what you should do, one of the first things is you need to identify within the question two possible answers, essentially. And this is difficult when you're under pressure, when you're in an exam situation, right? But we'll see the examples here in the video. I'm going to get into them right now. Normally there's one of two ways to answer the question, right? So you have to try and balance out your answer a little bit. Some people would say this, however, I think this because of this, right? So if you're going one way with the answer, commit to it and think of a couple of examples or a couple of reasons as to why you think that. You have to justify your opinions, okay? What else? Yes, one very important thing. The 3 prompts that you're given are not essential. People always ask, do I have to talk about the 3 points? No, you don't have to talk about any of them. They are prompts. They are there to help you if you need them. And just reiterate one more thing. You should be constructing arguments. You should present the argument. What is the controversy? What is what you think or what other people think, the opinions that exist about this topic, and what is your conclusion? It should be expressed as closely as possible to how you would express yourself on paper, right? If you can get good at writing and thinking, you'll get good at speaking. No more self-help. Let's get to the examples. Okay, so we're on a website here that's called caeexamtips.com, but as you can see, this is a CPE task, right? So it's got a lot of tips and advice for the proficiency exam. So we're going to look at this question here. It says, what makes people work more effectively? So there are lots of different ideas that should come into your head immediately, but the prompts are probably pretty useful here. Rules, rewards, or other people. So, as I said earlier, it would be great to hear some people step up and have a go at this. So if you want to record yourself doing this activity and send it to me as a channel member, I'll include it in a video. If you don't want me to, I'll just give you feedback. But that's one of the benefits, one of the perks of being a channel member. Click the blue button under the video. Help me quit my day job. Anyway, we're going to listen to Anna from Poland. Let's go for it. Let's see how well she does this task.
What makes people work more effectively? Rules, rewards, or other people? I strongly believe that what makes us work more effectively are other people. Other people, like our co-workers, colleagues, bosses, especially bosses, I believe that when we have a competent boss who knows what he's doing, he or she can help us with our problems, can suggest solutions.
Okay, so I would just say here at this point, 42 seconds in, sounds like she's going off on a little bit of a tangent about bosses, right? The question isn't what people can make people work more effectively, right? She started off very well. She strongly believes that people are what can help people to work. Other people can help people to work very, very well, more effectively, right? She talks about bosses, co-workers, colleagues, all very good. Is she going off on a tangent here about bosses? I don't know. Let's just let her continue.
He or she can motivate us. That's important, I think. Motivate us. How? By wisely using rewards and rules. Rewards, that's a simple idea, but it's not so obvious how to use it correctly. Different people react to different rewards. There might be people...
Now, I just want to stop there for a minute. Imagine if this was on writing. If this was in writing, rather. If this was an essay. It would be madness. I'm not saying she speaks badly, and I'm sure she's an effective communicator when she's speaking in a natural situation, in a natural scenario. But this is harder than real life, okay? Having to effectively express your ideas is high-level communication, right? That a lot of natives are not good at, okay? So she starts off by saying other people are what can help people to work effectively. No? Great, okay, stick with that. But then they use rules and rewards, and then other people, it depends on what the personality of the person's like. Some people react better than others. How can you do it effectively? She's asking 17 questions, right? And we're trying to answer one. What makes people work more effectively? I would start by saying different people react to different stimuli, right? Some people work better with, like it says in the prompts, rules, so they're good at following rules. Other people, you know, the carrot or the stick, they can follow the carrot. You know, if there is a prize, if their work is going to be well remunerated, they will be motivated by that. They'll work more effectively. And some people, yeah, they work well if they've got a positive group of people around them. So a little bit confused, I would say, at the moment. I don't know. Let's carry on.
People who will simply value financial rewards, and others for whom simply praise will be enough. A wise boss should be able to recognize which reward is good for which coworker. As for rules, I believe that rules make things easier, and that they are necessary, especially in places where many people are supposed to coexist, cooperate without conflict. Thank you.
So clearly she's got some good ideas, and I'm sure she could write about it a lot more effectively than she spoke about it. So, you know, no criticism of her level of English. The problem is this ability to break down a topic, present the controversy, present the idea, talk about different possible solutions and reach a conclusion. It's difficult. So Anna didn't do that well. She didn't organise her thoughts well. It's really tough. We need to practice. And I feel like it's something that we don't practice enough. So remember, you can do that on my channel. by clicking the blue button. Did I mention the blue button? Anyway, let's have a look at another one then. So, this one says, what are some common problems that people can encounter while traveling? And the prompts, again, you don't have to use them. Documents, transport, accommodation. You can have problems with all of those things. And we've got a couple of answers here. 3 answers. In fact, I think this will be a good way to go here. We'll listen to 3 answers and we'll decide who's the best, who gives the best answer, right? So we've got Augusto from Brazil. Okay, let's listen to him.
Traveling is wonderful, but just like everything else, it has advantages and disadvantages. Some of the disadvantages we can say is that you can often have problems while traveling. For example, you can have problems with your documents, like your passport may have expired, and it's really, really difficult to get a new passport. It's a really bureaucratic procedure and it takes time. So if you don't have a valid passport, you may have some trouble if you want to travel. Also,
I'll stop there for 1 second. Great accent, gotta say that. He speaks really, really well. He's got almost an American accent there. It's really good. I like the way he's talking about documentation without saying, okay, number 1, documents. What is a document? Passports are documents. No, he's naturally talking about how, if you lose your passport, it's a very bureaucratic, paperworky mess, right? So he's talking about one of the prompts, but he's doing it in a very natural way. He started a little bit lacking in confidence, wasn't quite sure how to introduce the topic, but he got into it, and so far, so good, I think. Let's see how he finishes this.
You have to take into consideration the country where you want to travel, because if the country you want to go to is having some diplomatic issues with your home country, you may not be able to go there, because they may make it more difficult for people from that country to enter their country. About transport, you can have delayed flights, which cause stress, and you have to wait at the airport. It's really tiring. And about ground transports, such as cars and buses, your car could break down in the middle of nowhere.
I would just say he's saying about this topic. Better to say as for, right? But no, it's a minor error. Yeah, he's speaking pretty well. He's giving some good examples. He's using a wide range of vocabulary, I think. I would also say he's not repeating himself, either in ideas or in vocabulary. So pretty good so far. Yeah, and it looks like it goes on for 3 minutes, so he's gone over time, but, well, we'll see.
And, if you don't have a signal, you can't call anyone, so you just have to wait for someone to pass, and you have to get a ride, a lift to the nearest town, and it's quite a situation. About accommodation, there are some problems that can happen too, such as you getting a different product from what you bought or from what you expected. Like you bought a 5-star. You paid to stay at a 5-star hotel, but when you get there, it's a 3-star hotel. And also the staff may be unpleasant to you, which also causes frustration and stress if the staff is not kind. And
it's interesting that they're not stopping him. He's 2.5 minutes into what is supposed to be a 2-minute speech, but he's going well. He's thinking of more and more ideas, and essentially this is quite an open question. It says, what are some common problems that people can encounter while traveling? I mean, yeah, why not? If he can give an example, then He gives a problem and says how that can be a problem. He gives another problem, says how that can be a problem. He's doing pretty well for such a sort of vague question, really.
Sometimes you get noisy neighbors. You know, the people that are staying next to you, next to your room, are noisy, and you can't sleep at night, and that really is a pain. So to finish, I think that traveling is a great way of spending our time and money, but it also has some disadvantages, so you have to be ready for that, you know.
Okay, so he eventually finished there, or was told to stop. Pretty good attempt. Let's have a look at another couple of candidates answering the same question. So we've got another Brazilian and two more Brazilians. Luri, let's see how he or she does.
Everybody expects trips to be periods of good fun and relaxing moments, but all of us know that not everything goes right most of the time. So before we start discussing traveling problems, first we need to decide what types of traveling we're talking about.
This sounds like he's reading an essay so far, so a brilliant start, no? He's saying, so we need to consider all of these things before we go into the discussion. Fantastic introduction. I don't know, can he keep this up for 2 minutes? Let's see.
I mean, every one of them will have very specific situations that we need to be prepared to deal with. For example, if we're planning on getting off the beaten track, we may find ourselves into places that are not prepared to accommodate us. I mean, we were going in places that normally the people don't go. Or to get to our destiny, we may pass through dangerous or inappropriate pathways.
Right, very interesting. One small mistake, get to our destiny. Destiny, I think, is figurative. We would say our destination. But other than that, almost perfect so far. I really like the way he's expressing his ideas. I think this is someone who's practiced, and he's probably very good at writing as well. He's practiced expressing his ideas, developing them, justifying his opinions.
The same thing can happen if you're a budget traveler. I mean, in order to get somewhere to sleep, you may go on a very precarious accommodation, or in order to get something to eat, you may eat something that you have health problems after. But I think that the bigger problem with a low budget trip is that we may pass some necessity in the middle of the trip and don't have the means to deal with it. So we always need to be prepared. On the other hand, if we're talking about going on a trip in the lap of luxury, problems can still happen. I mean, accidents happen, unexpected situations happen, problems with documentation, problems with the luggage, even the sense of disappointment. When we are going on a trip like this, we want everything to be perfect before we put a lot of money there. And if something doesn't go according to the plan, we may get very frustrated.
So he's in some very noisy place. It sounds like he's recording this at home, so I don't think this is an exam scenario exactly, because there's dogs and it sounds like a bus just pulled up. I don't know where he is. I hope he's okay. Yeah, you know, he's very animated. The way he's speaking, not monotonous at all. No, sounds very enthusiastic. Lots of very good vocab, off the beaten track, budget traveler, all these kinds of things. Let's see how he finishes.
So I think this is the mentality we need to acquire, that the problems don't need to ruin our trip, that we need to be prepared, but most of the times something will not go according to the plan, and we don't have to let it, we need to lay it back and try to still get the most out of this experience and try to still relax and have the fun we wanted to have, even if not everything goes as we wanted it.
Okay, so a couple of minor errors there, but I really like the way he presented his ideas, justified his opinions, used a lot of vocab, sounded enthusiastic, really good. Let's listen to Wilson, the last one we're going to listen to today. And it's the same question again, so I don't know. Let's listen.
I think that people can experience a great array of problems while traveling. The most common, in my point of view, are those regarding transport, but also documents and accommodation can also be really stressful or disturbing. Some airports are, especially here in Brazil, are awful, and some are probably from the age of dinosaurs. The ABC network from the United States of America listed some of these traveling problems. For example, a naked man running through traffic causing delays has happened twice on the freeway leading to the huge Los Angeles International Airport, says the ABC News story. The list goes on, according to...
I think these last two have kind of prepared their answers a little bit. No, they don't sound... I don't know. They're interesting, but it's not very off the cuff. I don't think they're practicing it exactly as they would in an exam scenario. But hey, that's a good way to practice, you know, because in the exam you're not going to be able to prepare. Okay, so maybe practice by preparing speeches, organizing your thoughts, organizing your arguments. So, hey, he's talking about a naked man holding up traffic by LAX airport. Whatever.
According to ABC. Traffic delays, as I said before. Unusual apparel. If you are traveling wearing anything that could cause discomfort to other passengers, you will be prevented from flying. Bad weather, which is obvious. Lost or stolen documents, which is also obvious. Wrong airport, wrong terminal. Unexpected rule changes. And finally, bad jokes. If you say to a stewardess that you are carrying a bomb...
Okay, so... yeah, he just listed a load of things, and then it's getting a little bit facetious here. If you say to a stewardess you're carrying a bomb, yeah, I feel like he's bombing his exam here, but yeah, I don't know. I guess we might as well finish. It's bizarre.
This remark will probably delay your flight and certainly put you in jail.
Okay.
As for me, I remember that my last trip to São Paulo, after arriving home, we discovered at the São Gonçalo International Airport that one of our luggages had simply gone. Of course, we filed a complaint at the airline company office, and surprisingly, 2 days later, the package was with us.
Problems with pronunciation as well. I didn't understand everything he said. It sounded like he was reading, to be honest. That was odd. Anyway. I'll see you in the next one.